This October, Blue Apron is celebrating its 5th anniversary by bringing back its top 20 recipes from throughout the past 5 years, as picked by you, the Blue Apron community. Your favorite Blue Apron recipes are back on the menu for a limited time only. Blue Apron is all about giving people fresh recipes to explore as they learn to cook new dish after new dish, which is why they don't repeat recipes within one calendar year. This is what makes this limited time offer so exciting. Try out Blue Apron's all-time customer favorites by going to blueapron.com/Mike and Mike. Blue Apron delivers seasonal recipes along with pre-portioned ingredients to make delicious home-cooked meals. Blue Apron's freshness guarantee promises that every ingredient in your delivery arrives ready to cook, or they'll make it right. Check out this week's menu and get $30 off your first meal with free shipping by going to blueapron.com/Mike and Mike. You're going to love how good it feels and tastes to create incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron, so do not wait. That's blueapron.com/Mike and Mike. Blue Apron, it's a better way to cook.
We roll on final hour. Wow, it flies by, doesn't it?
Does fly by.
Yeah, you're welcome. Trey Wingo here with Mike Golick and the big man Damian Woody here with us. Glad you're with us for the final hour of Mike and Mike, nay Golick and Wingo, or Winger, or whatever we're going to
Winger.
Mike
Has that been figured out yet?
Well,
Yeah,
as we found out, when Trey was working local,
St. Louis,
they wanted him to change his name.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, we had a bunch of people at the station whose last name ended in an O, and I would have been like the 4th or 5th one. So they wanted to change my name to Trey Winger. So to get around that, we snuck on the air a day early and put my name out there. So like, hey, can't change it now.
Yeah. Plus, you can't just say Winger. You have to. It's like Winger.
Yeah, that's.
So that was that. Again, we're presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests on the phone line, the Shell Pennzoil Performance line. Get in touch with us at the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. Again, we put it out there because today is a very unique day. It's the only day it's guaranteed all year that we'll have all 4 professional sports being played at the same time. You've got Game 5 of the NLCS. You've got the Thursday Night Football game between the Chiefs and the Raiders, which we haven't really gotten into yet. We'll talk about that with Damian. And, of course, you've got NBA and NHL multiple games. So hit us up on the Twitter feed at either Mike and Mike, ESPN Golick, or Wingos, or Winger on that one. But before we get into stuff with you, Damon, it was a huge win last night once again for the Yankees. They won their 3rd straight game against the Astros, beating their nemesis, Astros starter Dallas Keuchel, to take a 3-2 lead, heading back to Houston for Games 6 and 7 of the ALCS. And here was Yankees manager Joe Girardi after the game.
I think anytime you're able to score off a starter early, especially someone you haven't scored off at all, I think it does feel bigger. Yes, we can break through, and you get 2 hits in a row, a double by Castro, and then a big hit by Berg, and then the next big hit came from Judge, and we just kept putting them up. The next big one came from Sanchez, who had really struggled off of Keuchel. So I give those guys a lot of credit. They fought, and they were able to score off him tonight.
I mean, are they just trying for the drama? Down 0-2 to Cleveland and come back and win that 3 straight, down 0-2 to Houston, have won 3 straight, can close it out, and they knock around Keuchel, who they haven't been able to do. Now they're going against Verlander, who threw a complete game on him.
Yeah.
The first time he pitched in this series. That threesome of Judge, Sanchez, Gregorius, I mean, they have been fantastic. Obviously, 2, 3, and 4 hitters there. It's been impressive what they've done because the expectation had Midna. They went through Cleveland first, which is a thought they were the best team in the American League. They get through them, then they go to the team that people thought was the best team in the American League until Cleveland, went on the run that they did in the Astros, and now the Yankees are 1 game away from heading back to the World Series.
It would be their 41st World Series.
Incredible.
Which is just
incredible.
When you're young, and this team is young, sometimes they don't even know the situation
exactly
that
right.
they're in.
That's exactly right. There's an old saying. There's a backup quarterback for the Cowboys named Clint Longley, who infamously came off the bench when Roger Staubach got hit out of a Thanksgiving Day game against the Redskins, and he just started chucking it down the field.
Right.
They let him back for a win, and the defensive lineman Larry Cole called it a victory for the uncluttered mind.
Yeah.
That
right.
may be something
So
what's
true.
going on here with the Yankees, and we'll see what happens. And I say infamously because the next season at training camp, Clint Longley decided it was a good idea to punch Roger Staubach in the face.
Not the thing to do.
He was cut immediately after that and was never heard from again.
Whenever you think there's not a hierarchy somewhere, you're wrong.
You're
There
wrong.
it is.
Exactly. And when you don't know the hierarchy, you're not on the hierarchy.
Yeah.
So that's the situation there. All right, and that leads us to football coming up tonight. Damien, we've got an interesting matchup in the AFC West. The Chiefs are going on the road where they take on Oakland, Oakland still Oakland.
Yes.
Soon to be Las Vegas. I had a momentary panic. L.A. Chargers. What am I saying here? L.A. Chargers. But it's interesting because the Chiefs have been so good on the road, so good in the division. And what's gone on with these Raiders? They started great winning the first 2 games, and then the last 4 games, their offense, before Derek Carr went out with the back injury, was stuck in neutral.
Trey, this is a team that they don't have an identity.
Yeah,
if you look at the Oakland Raiders, there's not one thing you can just point to and say, oh, they do this well. They don't have anything you can really hat on. And Mike, you know this. You have to have something to hang your hat on in this league. And for the Raiders, I think the one thing I've really been disappointed in is the offensive line. They've invested a ton of money and resources into that offensive line, and quite frankly, they just haven't been able to get it done. You got to get Marshawn Lynch going. You brought him into the mix to really have that dominant running game. That would do wonders for not only the offense but the defense, because the defense has never been the type of defense that's really held people down. You got to be able to control the clock, control the time of possession to give that defense some help.
The 2 O-lines we talked about the most last year, when you had to be very happy, and every former O-lineman out there when that became the sexy talk, and nobody ever mentioned sexy O-line ever, but it was Dallas and Oakland, and both teams have struggled running the ball, and they have a lot of money in those lines. Zach Martin's going to become the highest paid guard in all the game, and Frederick got paid, Tyron Smith got paid as well, so they haven't performed both well teams, as they have last year, those old lines. The other side of it with the Chiefs, I couldn't believe some of the things I was reading once the Chiefs lost. Well, this is why Andy Reid was run out of Philadelphia. Yes, 5 NFC Championship games and 1 Super Bowl appearance is horrible.
Yeah, I would take that.
Let's see how quickly we can get him out of town. Andy Reid, in my eyes, is a great coach. So they got beat. Did anything get exposed to you in this game, or is it like, listen, you don't go 16-0 an awful lot. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen. Listen, quite frankly, sometimes, and you know this, matchups, some teams match up better against other teams. We saw last year in the playoffs, the Steelers going to Kansas City and beat the Chiefs last year. They did the same this year. I think Pittsburgh, just by the makeup of their team, matches up well against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, what we also saw in the game is they shut down Kareem Hunt. Right. He's a huge component to that team because when they get him running and get him going, that's the reason why you're seeing Alex Smith having the big time year that he's having, because he's able to push the ball down the field. Kareem Hunt only had 8 carries last week. The Pittsburgh Steelers did a really good job of shutting him down and really putting the onus on Alex Smith, which, quite frankly, I don't know if that's his game to really put the whole team on his shoulders. They got to reestablish Kareem Hunt tonight if you're the Kansas City Chiefs.
And to your point, and I mentioned it earlier this week, Trey, the matchups we're talking about, I mean, who was a guy that hadn't been active the last couple of weeks? And even when he hadn't been playing a bunch. James Harrison.
Yes, right.
He was active for this game because they knew the matchup with he and Fisher, the Chiefs left tackle.
Going back to the playoff game a year ago.
Would favor Harrison, and it did. You saw
he got the big sack.
He was a finisher.
He was
a finisher.
Exactly right.
You know, it's interesting. And everything you look at points towards a Kansas City Chiefs win. I think they've won 9 straight road games. I think they've won 12 in their division. They've won 5 straight against the Raiders, 7-1 in their last 8. Are we setting it up for a Raiders win? I mean, it just seems like everything that we think we know about football doesn't make sense in this year. Right?
It is, yeah. This year, there's a lot of topsy-turvy type, what we call parity. There's been a lot of parity in the National Football League this year. So with all the stats that you just read off,
right,
I could definitely see the Raiders win the game because it's a short week. Yeah. It's a divisional opponent. Anything can happen. But listen, if the Chiefs establish Kareem Hunt, then it's going to be a long.
And by the way, that one win in the last 8 that the Raiders have against the Chiefs came on a short week in 2014 on a Thursday night when the Chiefs were winning, and the Raiders were 0-10 that year. They were 0-10 that year, and the Chiefs went in there and laid an egg.
Just when you think you know what's going on in the NFL. Yes, I am.
I'm a little worried.
Just when you think you know the Giants go to Denver and beat Denver.
Right,
exactly. You just absolutely don't know. All right. I love when we can take people where they can't go. You know, we had Al Leiter on earlier, and I said take people on the mound and pitching to Aaron Judge. Take people where, again, 99.9% of the people can't go, don't want to go, be an offensive lineman in the NFL, as you were for so many years. Now you're in Green Bay. So now you don't have Aaron Rodgers. Brett Hundley, who had been there since 2015, and they love to develop quarterbacks there, so he is going to be the guy. So now take us in that meeting room, the offensive meeting room, the O-line meeting room, and how your conversations with the Brett Hundley, the quarterback, on just how you make that transition.
Well, listen, obviously no one will be able to ever replace Aaron Rodgers. He's the best quarterback in the league. I'll call him the best dual-threat quarterback in the league. But if you're an offensive lineman in that meeting room right now, you got to think, okay, what can we do to help alleviate some of the pressure off the quarterback right now? We got to get the running game going. That's when you have the running game going, that's the best tool to help a young quarterback in this particular situation. So the Green Bay Packers offensive line, they've had a lot of injuries along their line.
2 tackles.
Yeah, I mean it seems like they've been dealing with this for a long time.
At one point, they had issues.
They've been dealing with this for a long time. It seems like, but if you're in that meeting room, you got to find a way. I'm not saying, go over and beyond what your job is. Everyone has to do their job, but you have to find a way, get that running game going, take some pressure off Brett Hundley so he can just go back there and just play his game.
Well, the question is, what is Brett Hundley's game? That's the interesting thing.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people sort of say they think they're going to – look, it's not going to be Aaron Rodgers. I mean, that's not going to happen. Yeah. But they think they're going to be okay with this game.
Well, the first thing you do is you sit down with him and say, what do you like to run?
Right.
What do you have? Now, we know there's a playbook. He's been there for a few years. But what works best for you? And then I would imagine that's a conversation with the coordinator when you guys are going over the game plan. These are the plays that we think he likes best and will work for him. So these are the ones that we really have to master during the week.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when I was with the Jets, we used to have on Friday our offensive line coach Bill Callahan, who's with the Washington Redskins, he would just put all the running plays on the board and like, guys, what do you guys want to run? Yeah. What are the plays that you want to make go? And we would pick the plays, and he would always say, now if you pick them and we call them, you better make them go.
Right.
And so, and I suspect a lot of offensive lines around the league do the same type of thing. They have their certain plays that they like, go out there, execute it.
All right, Damian Woody with us here on Mike and Mike. And here's the real interesting thing, okay? With the injury to Aaron Rodgers, you have Brett Hundley in there. We have an interesting quarterback situation in Minnesota. We don't know where we're going to see Sam Bradford back. Case Keenum has played pretty well. We don't know when or if Teddy Bridgewater might play. He's back in practicing. So that's a team that's very up in the air. The Bears are obviously they've scratched the itch for Mitch. They're going with Mitchell Trubisky, got his first win. And then you have the Lions sitting there with Matthew Stafford. Which team do you feel most comfortable in right now is winning this division? Is it Detroit, even though they got hammered in New Orleans on Sunday?
For me, it's Minnesota, and I go to the defensive side. You lost Dalvin Cook. That certainly hurts you.
Brutal.
I don't count on Sam Bradford anymore. I basically say this is Case Keenum to try and win it. Diggs is having a year. I know he missed last week. Yeah. Thielen, you got Michael Floyd off of suspension for a couple weeks. Kyle Rudolph rounding back into that threat again that he had been. He was a Pro Bowler, I believe, his rookie year. So I think, and that offensive line completely revamped.
Yes.
Is running that stretch zone pretty well, or they were certainly with Dalvin Cook. So, and I think their defense is great. So that's kind of, Damian, where I lean. Who's got the best defense, which means you're going to be in games the longest.
Listen, I always say, look, what team has something that they can hang their hat on the best?
Right.
And again, and I have to repeat what you said. The Minnesota Vikings, their defense to me is far and away the best in that division. They can go anywhere and pretty much shut any offense down. So I'm not in love with the quarterback situation with Case Keenum, because at some point he's going to show him true self again.
Right.
But that defense is going to keep them in every football game.
Well, they have been terrific.
Absolutely.
And they were good a year ago.
Yeah.
And so the problem for them last year was just finishing. We had 2 straight years where he started team 5-0 and didn't make the playoffs. The Falcons in 2015 and then the Vikings in 2016. Okay, then there's this other thing, which I thought was really interesting. A recent ESPN poll of 155 NFL players found that Giants quarterback Eli Manning was voted the most overrated quarterback in the league. Damian, your thoughts?
I completely agree. I really do. Everyone gets caught up in the flash pan moment. And I'm not sitting here. I'm not going to take anything away from Eli. Those were 2, magical moments for Eli in the Giants in football history. But again, for me, it's a body of work. You can't just focus on, he won 2 Super Bowl, two-time Super Bowl MVP. Yes, no one's taking that away, but you do have to look at the body of work. This is also a quarterback that's led the league in interception 3 times, And quite frankly, I've always, just watching Eli, I've never thought of him as a guy that can just put a team on his back and just carry them like a Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady or anybody like that. I always felt like he's a good quarterback, but people make him out to be like this great quarterback, and I just never thought that was the case.
Let me ask you both this. Greeny and I have talked about this on air. That draft of Eli,
Rivers,
Ben,
Roethlisberger.
and Rivers, if you could choose who you'd want in order, who would you take? For me, it would be Rivers, Roethlisberger, Eli.
I'm the same. I feel the same. And
one guy that doesn't have any rings.
Right. And the crazy thing is I know that Phillip Rivers, he's thrown some interceptions now, especially, last couple of years he's thrown some interceptions. But, again, I look at the whole body work, and, boy, you're talking about a competitor. I mean, Phillip Rivers
played the AFC Championship game that one year without an ACL.
So you'd be that, or how about you?
I might go Ben, but I can certainly understand the case for Phillip. Here's what's really interesting, because those were 3 quarterbacks taken in the first round, and everybody looks at the '83 draft as the greatest quarterback draft because we had 6 quarterbacks go in that first round. 3 Hall of Famers and 3 not Hall of Famers, if you really want to break it down. Marino, Elway, and Kelly, but then you also had Todd Blackledge, Champagne, Tony Eason, and Ken O'Brien. Now, Ken O'Brien was a serviceable quarterback. He did very well. I think we can all agree that Blackledge and Tony Eason did not live up to the hype. So if Rivers was able to ever get there, not even maybe win it, but get to a Super Bowl, would you say Rivers, Roethlisberger, and Manning, or would you go Elway, Marino, Kelly?
Oh, that's not even close.
Yeah.
That's Kelly, Marino, and Elway.
Yeah. Even though the Bills never won that Super Bowl.
No, I don't. To me, the Super Bowl win doesn't define you. It can certainly help your resume, but if I'm sitting there picking quarterbacks, one of them isn't going to be, well, he won more Super Bowls than this guy. I would take every quarterback in that of the 3 you mentioned over every quarterback of the Roethlisberger, Rivers, and Eli. I would take all 3, Kelly, Elway, and Marino, over all 3 of those.
I totally agree. And I threw this out there because people asked me about Romo versus Eli, and I said, just strictly on quarterback play, I would take Tony Romo. Just strictly on quarterback. And people want to throw the Super Bowls, but like you said, it's
teams
not necessarily
win championships.
Right, exactly. But strictly on quarterback, I'll take Tony Romo.
So staying with the quarterback, is there any way on this wonderful earth that we have, would you put Andrew Luck on the field this season at all?
No. I just, with everything that's invested in Andrew Luck, I just don't think it would be just for his long-term viability with the Colts organization, I just don't think it would be the smart thing to do. Obviously, he's had the setback with the shoulder. Anytime you're taking cortisone shots in your shoulder, there's something going on in there. There's something going on with that shoulder. So if I'm the Colts, I'm shutting it down. The Colts really, you have sometimes, Mike, you have to save the player from themselves because us, we want to get back. You want to play. That's football players play. And I think it's incumbent on the organization to save the player from himself, shut him down for the year.
Well, we've said this before, and I'll say it again. Herm Edwards, when he was the coach of the Jets, had the same issue with Chad Pennington, same surgery, and he's been saying since day one, it's a year. It's a year before this guy is right. That surgery was in January, so I think the odds at this point are very slim that he sees the field at any time in 2017. Damien, we would be remiss if we didn't ask you about the meetings this week between the NFL players and owners Tuesday afternoon, rather. First of all, it was great to see players and owners and the NFL and the NFLPA together on something which has been so rare since the CBA was agreed to in 2011. We thought that would make it better. It really hasn't changed much there. A lot of people were very hopeful about what they heard from the commissioner and the owners coming out of that meeting. One player was not. Former NFL lineman Willie Colon said his sources telling him nothing got done. What do you think eventually how productive do you think that meeting was, and what do you think eventually will happen?
Well, I think it was productive. The one thing that I thought players talked about, the message that was getting out, is now both sides are starting to rally around tangible issues. And I always thought that
that was the whole point, right?
That's the whole point. People got caught up with the flag and the protests and all those type of things, but you had to redirect the energy towards, okay, what are the specific issues that both sides can partner up with to really help combat it? And I think coming out of the meeting, there are some things that came out of there where, people like, Okay, I can see that. Those are things that both the league and the players can rally around and hopefully make change in their particular communities. So I think that's the first step.
I think the kneeling for the anthem now has lost its meaning. Do you agree? Less and less players are kneeling. I think all it does is bring up
the message has been totally shifted.
But the message, it almost seems to me like guys are just doing it because they've been doing it. But to me, it's not serving the purpose anymore that they want it to.
I don't think it's as powerful as it was before. There's no question about it. And I think where the momentum needs to go now is towards like these meetings and having, again, niching out those tangible issues.
So what would it be? What concrete thing would you need to hear or want to hear where you say, you know what? This was a
Is
success.
it here, or what do you want to see done?
Yeah,
I think for me, as a former player, I want to see the league and players partner up with local municipalities.
The Dolphins did that recently with the Miami
state
PD.
legislators, governors. As a player, once I'm seeing those type of things where we're like meeting and we're hashing out a game plan, in those cities,
32 cities.
Then I think the players like, okay, now we're making inroads. Okay, now let's move it. Let's progress and move it forward past kneeling.
The way I look at it, if you can start by your house meaning in the city you play in.
Right.
If you can see tangible results there, if the league works together with the players, and the players, some players are already doing things. We know things.
Yeah, guys been doing
They've
stuff
been
like this.
doing things for a while, but now if they partner up and do it together, I think those are tangible things that can be accomplished to see going in the right direction.
Absolutely. We saw this with the Dolphins and the Miami PD.
Right.
Brandon Marshall last year, after he knelt and there was some blowback, he worked with the Denver Police Department out there. And, of course, we saw the unbelievable gesture by Chris Long of the Eagles, who's playing for free this year.
Right.
He's basically playing for free to donate all 16 of his game checks to causes raising issues that he deems worthy. Big man, always a pleasure. Sorry
Absolutely.
I missed the dumpster fire on NFL Live.
That's all right. That's all right. It's online.
All right. I saw it on Twitter.
Yeah.
If you haven't, every Wednesday when Damien is on, we do this thing called his top 5 dumpster fires in the NFL. They're pretty good.
Yeah.
Very entertaining. The big man is always entertaining. Damien, thanks for being with us.
Hey everyone, Mike Golick here. Support for Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. With Rocket Mortgage, you can apply simply and understand fully so you can mortgage confidently. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org number 3030.
Computer, execute 12.4p operation.
Optimizing algorithm. Running encryption packet alpha 990. I don't feel so good.
What is it, computer?
Is it hot in here? It feels hot in here. I feel a little clammy. I should lie down or something.
A computer with a virus? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Those oysters Rockefeller were a mistake.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
All right, we roll on. Golick and Wingo, sort of Mike and Mike, also that part two. We're back on the set. For those of you that were not listening but watching on ESPN2, we had some technological difficulties.
We did, yeah.
And we did like 3/4 of the show in the comfy chairs.
From the comfy chairs, it lulls you.
They will put you to sleep.
It lulls you in. Yeah,
I felt
it
like
does.
there was an anesthetic that was slowly seeping into
Yeah.
our bodies. I feel so much more awake sitting over here.
I had
now.
to drink more booze over there to stay awake than I have in a long time during this show.
Well, it's a Thursday. It's a start of a
That's
weekend
what I
for a
thought
lot of
as well.
people.
It's 5 o'clock on some day somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. All guests appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Reach out to us on the Twitter feed at 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed. And by the way, I have to get into this before we get into the baseball, which is important. We've been talking about this survey of NFL players.
NFL players were
155 NFL players that were surveyed, and they came up with Eli Manning as the most overrated quarterback. So it wasn't us. It was actual NFL players, to which on the 1-800-Flowers.com Twitter feed, I want to make sure I get his handle exactly right.
Yeah, let's get it exactly right
at
there.
Michael P. Rush 1. So at Michael P. Rush 1 tweeted, "You guys have no clue, overrated quarterback. It's Aaron Rodgers. Who has more Super Bowls and who hasn't been injured more?" Hey, Mike.
Oh,
my
God.
Congratulations. It's not possible for you to be more wrong. It's not possible.
I don't even know where to begin.
Oh, let's try.
On this. To say that Aaron Rodgers, again, anybody who's hung up on number of rings, I'm sorry.
You're lost
I
right
think
away.
That's ridiculous.
You're lost right
If
away.
you want to put it in the column somewhere, that's fine. I get it. But it's down the column. Overrated and Aaron Rodgers couldn't be
They're
furthest
oxymorons.
from each other. I mean, this guy, when he's done talking, when he's done playing, you're going to be talking about where does he fit. We talked about Tom Brady as the GOAT, greatest of all time. Greeny brought up the term, is Aaron Rodgers the BOAT, the best of all time, because of what he can do, as athletic as he is outside the pocket, running, throwing on the run. I don't even know. Listen, and
delete your account.
Everybody's entitled to your opinion.
Delete your account.
I got to say this, Michael Rush.
At Michael P. Rush 1.
Here's the thing. If you own a bobblehead, send it to us.
Yeah.
Okay? Because get rid of it. Get it out of your house and send it back to us.
Yeah.
I don't get that. Aaron Rodgers overrated?
He has the greatest touchdown to interception ratio in the history of the NFL. He also has the highest passer rating in the history of the NFL.
Do we think Mike...
He's done it without a running game. He's done it without tackles. He's done it at times without a defense.
Do you think Mike would have tweeted this and make it sound so absurd that we would talk about him?
Possibly.
Okay.
We might have fallen for the trap.
We may have.
But seriously.
Because we both looked at that and said that has to be written wrong.
No. And again, let's just get this again. Team wins is not a quarterback stat. It is not a quarterback stat.
No.
Super Bowl wins are not a quarterback stat. Teams win. So,
Feel
Mike,
better.
we had to get that off our chest
We did.
because that's just patently ridiculous.
Yeah, it is.
So, Mike, nice try. Swing and a miss. Okay, we move on. The road to the World Series goes through
Swing and
ESPN
a
Radio.
miss.
Hey, look at you. Catch all the postseason action presented by AutoZone on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and the ESPN app. As we said, the Cubs survived, winning their fifth straight elimination game to hang on and beat the Dodgers 3-2. They're still behind in the series 3-1. Only one team ever has come back down 3-0 in the postseason of Major League Baseball. It was those 4 days in October.
Right.
The Red Sox did it against the Yankees in 2004. But this one they had to have, and there was a moment where it looked like it might go all against the Cubs in this game. It was in the 8th inning when Curtis Granderson looked like he had struck out on a Wade Davis pitch. Wade Davis in there for the 2-inning save because they had to have it. Their reliever and Curtis made the argument that I tipped the ball, the foul tipped. It clearly was not tipped. You can't review it. It's not a reviewable play for instant replay, but they showed it on the scoreboard at Wrigley 100 times.
Oh, right.
The
umps all got together and talked
together.
about it, and it didn't go.
It didn't go that way. And Joe Madden lost his mind, got ejected. Here's exactly what Joe Madden said about why he was so heated at that time.
I was upset. I mean, listen, this is an elimination game, man. This isn't just another one. This isn't June 23rd. This is an elimination game. And again, with all due respect to the umpires, and as Ricky Bobby once said, once you've said with all due respect, then you can say whatever you want. With all due respect, under those circumstances, that can't happen. It can't happen. If Granderson hits the next pitch out of the ballpark, that can't happen. The process was not good. That's my argument. The process was a bad process. That's my argument. If I don't do that, what do my players, think? I mean, if I don't stand up for our guys like that, what do they think in that moment? So, and really, that's part of it. The other part is you want to win the darn game, man. You want to win the game, and if that takes the game away from you right there, that would be really awkward.
By the way, we'd like to thank Joe just so we can do this. Look it up.
Oh, thank you, Joe. Anytime you can play a Ricky Bobby quote.
I love you, Ricky Bobby.
Oh, it's just fantastic. After the game, though, the umpire, Joe Wolf, did admit
Jim
he was
Wolf, yeah.
I'm sorry, Jim Wolf.
Yeah.
Admitted he was dead wrong on the
Correct.
call, saying I talked myself into the whole thing.
Which
I admitted.
I respect that,
yes.
right?
Yep.
I mean, it's like, I can't remember the ump's name who kicked the perfect game for the Tigers pitcher a few years ago.
Jim Joyce.
Jim Joyce. He kicked the blank out of it. He owned it.
He did.
He
did.
And it's a terrible thing.
Didn't help. Didn't change.
No, it didn't change
But,
the fact that he didn't get the perfect
wore the
game.
hat, so you respect that. Yes.
Exactly right. If you make a mistake, just own it. And they certainly owned it there. The question then becomes, Mike, can the Cubs keep doing this?
I don't listen.
Can
I
it
don't
really
think so.
happen
Again,
3 more times.
This has been done once now, so that means it. So you're saying
And there's a chance. Another movie we get
there
to
you go.
slip in.
Do I think it's going to happen? No, I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Dodgers will be in the World Series, but that's why you play the game, as they say. So
exactly.
There you go.
So we'll see what happens again. Game 5 tonight, 7 o'clock on ESPN Radio. Okay, we're here with you, Mike and Mike, on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Obviously something that has dominated the entire NFL season has been the player protests and the controversy and what they're protesting for. And a lot of the people have said, hey, you know what? I don't want to hear about this. If you really want to make change, do something about it. Well, of course, they're forgetting the fact that Colin Kaepernick, as an unemployed quarterback, has given away $1 million.
Yes, he has.
That he doesn't have, and a lot of other players.
Are doing stuff.
But somebody stepped up recently, and that's Eagles defensive end Chris Long. I've known Chris for a lot of years. Mm-hmm. He's essentially playing for nothing this year. He was going to give away his first 6 game checks to help fund people's scholarships around Charlottesville, where he went to college at the University of Virginia. Mm-hmm. And the announcement came out this week from the Chris Long Foundation that he's donating the rest of his 10 game checks this year. So he's donating it to education. So essentially, Chris Long is playing the brutal game of professional football in the NFL, and he's doing it for free. He is putting his money where his mouth is. Chris has obviously been a big part of ESPN for a lot of years, being a contributor on NFL Live. He's been on Mike and Mike. He's also been on Ryan Russillo's show a lot. This was him on Ryan Russillo's show yesterday explaining why he's doing what he's doing.
In being a 10-year NFL player and being able to engage in community outreach and meet some kids that don't have those opportunities, and seeing that the playing field isn't level in that regard, and seeing that these kids that are, teenagers or preteens, that they know already that they're missing the boat on education because of something they can't control. And I just think that, our youth in America, they don't have a choice in their circumstance, whether it be their home life or their educational opportunity or lack thereof. So for me, and I think a lot of these groups that are the benefactors of this campaign agree that education is a great way to break the cycle of poverty. So if you're looking at a way that your dollar can go a long way, I really think education is the way to go.
Listen, so again, there are many players.
Tons.
I've tried to say this. There are a high percentage that do put their money where their mouth is. Some do it more publicly than others. Sometimes, as I said yesterday, players get ripped for doing it publicly, but that can bring more awareness and more money. What happens if J.J. Watt doesn't publicly ask for the money $37 million later?
Yeah.
So Chris Long, as I said the other day, that's NFL royalty. Howie Long. Now, Howie came into the league in 81. I came in 85. We both played to 93, played the same time. I've gotten to know Howie. And he knows my brother Bob very well. Our teammates together with the L.A. Raiders. So known him forever and gotten to know his kids, both Chris and Kyle, very well. My family, they know their Kyle and Chris very well as well. They're a great family. The mom, Diane, obviously heading up everything, as my wife does the exact same thing. But what they do, Kyle does a lot as well. Chris does a lot. Chris has been doing, you read a lot about for the clean water that he's been trying to collect.
Wells in Africa.
Exactly. So these guys do it, but a lot of players do a lot, and people will say, oh, well, he makes a lot. I get it. Chris Long has made $89 million in his career. He's the number 2 pick overall. I get it. He's made a lot of money. What are you doing
for free?
But he's still donating the $1 million contract. He's playing this year for no money. So he is doing something. He's out there doing something. He's out there trying to make a difference, as a lot of guys are. So that's great to see. And it is great to see, too, when you know the people a little bit. As I said, knowing the family. It's such a great family. So there are guys that do it because you automatically get looked at differently if you make it sound like, oh, no, woe is me if you're a professional athlete because of all the money you make.
He's not saying that.
He's not saying that. He's saying, you know what, I have this platform. I have the ability to help. I have the way to help have people donate. And when I donate, it can maybe get other people to donate as well. Other people have jumped in on what he's doing.
Correct.
Giving up a game check here or a game check there to do the same thing. So it's all such a positive thing that I like that we try and hang on to that part of it.
Well, look, the stick to sports crowd, right? Hey, just stick to sports.
Yeah.
Well, if J.J. Watt just stuck to sports, we wouldn't have $37 million for hurricane relief in Houston. If Chris Long just stuck to sports, we wouldn't be donating all this money for all the things that he's doing in other. You can't have it both ways. You can't say, oh, that's good, but we don't want that.
Right.
Selective outrage and criticism never works. So congratulations to Chris. We're happy for you, and we're stepping up, and we're glad that so many other players in the NFL are stepping up as well. All right, coming up, we got the Chiefs-Raiders tonight. We'll talk more about that, plus Melo against the Knicks and Lonzo's debut for the Lakers.
We gave away 2 bobbleheads to Paul and to, what's Harschenbeiger's name?
Donald Harshbarger.
Yeah.
Donald Harshbarger. He's at D. Harshbarger.
For their tweets about the favorite sports month of the year. We appreciate everybody. I gave them a Gary Carter bobblehead and a Cam Newton bobblehead. I have no idea what their likes and dislikes are, but this is what they're getting. That's the beauty of this as we give away all the bobbleheads on the set till the end of Mike and Mike, November 27th, and the beginning of
17th.
What did I say?
Mike and Mike ends on the 17th.
On the 17th, that's my fault.
Yeah, and then you get a little respite.
Brief. In that respite is Thanksgiving, so you can fatten up a little bit. Then we have Golick and Wingo, along with my son Mike Jr. as well, starting November 27th.
27th, that's correct.
Yes, how about that?
We're looking forward to that, and hopefully you're looking forward to that as well. So that's coming up, and we got lots to get to, and we have a game tonight.
Yeah, we do.
We got the Chiefs and the Raiders. Now, Kansas City is a 3-point road favorite. By the way, road favorite makes all the sense in the world this year. We talked about how bizarre this year is. Road teams are actually winning more games than home teams.
Yes, they are. Yep.
Road teams are 46 and 45 on the year. And if you're wondering how unusual is that, well, at this point last year, road teams were 39 and 53. Take it one step further. The last time we had road teams with more wins than home teams this late through week 6 of the NFL season was 2000. So it has been 15-plus years that we haven't seen this kind of discrepancy where the road teams continue to win.
It's going to continue because I'm taking Kansas City.
You are?
The favorite by 3. Taking them on the road, yes. Yeah.
You know what? I think I have to go with the Raiders tonight. And because everything points to the Chiefs. Literally everything. Kansas City's won 9 straight road games. Kansas City has won 12 straight games in their division. Kansas City is 7-1 in their last 8 games against the Raiders. But that one loss that the Chiefs had to the Raiders was in Oakland on a Thursday night on a short week, and it was the year the Chiefs would go on to make the playoffs in 2014, and the Raiders were 0-10 at that time. They were 0-10 at that time. So if it's ever going to happen again, I think this might be the chance for the Raiders. But they got to stay on the field on third down.
One thing to keep an eye on for Kansas City and Kareem Hunt, the third-round pick out of Toledo, who's just been taking the league by storm, needs 115 scrimmage yards, not rushing yards,
rushing and receiving
scrimmage yards, to basically pass, get to 1,000 yards. Of scrimmage yards in the first 7 games. Only one player in the history of the NFL in his first 7 games of his career, got over 1,000 scrimmage yards. 1983, Eric Dickerson, 1,045 yards. So Kareem Hunt needs 115 to get to 1,000. It's impressive.
You got to like his chances. He's the first player in NFL history to start his career with 6 straight games, 100 yards of scrimmage. So that's going on tonight. Melo's debut against his old team, the Knicks. How many points for Melo tonight?
25.
25?
25.
Because we got the 3 ISO scores there.
We have
George, Westbrook, and Melo.
Westbrook and Melo are all 3 in the top 10 of isolation plays.
Yeah.
So if you don't
teamwork.
You don't
Passing,
have the ball.
Assists.
Pack a lunch.
That's what to say. Just sit there in the corner until someone chucks it up.
I think they'll let him do the ISO plays tonight and get some points on his old team. So I'll go 25.
Then there's the other one. How many assists for Lonzo Ball tonight against the Clippers?
25.
And will he wear 25?
No.
25. No. That would be something. But will he wear big baller brand?
Oh, yeah. I think this is a start. You saw what he did in the summer league wearing different kinds. I think he already came out with a different shoe because everybody kind of ripped his first shoe out there.
Well, it was cheap, though.
Have they even? Well, it was. It just part with $495. It
was under $500.
I don't know if they've been delivered yet or anything like that. But I think he will wear the shoe. I think he'll start. And listen, I'm looking forward to him starting to play because he looks like one hell of a player.
And then, of course, if he does play well and is able to distribute, then all those free agents that we talked about maybe next year heading to L.A. and putting together another super team. Get used to it.
Don't make my guy leave Cleveland.
I don't want him to leave Cleveland. Hey, we're not leaving. Thanks for watching. We're done, but we'll be back tomorrow.
So we are leaving
and listening
tomorrow.